Alright guys, today we're back on the early access for the Outback update, and on this occasion we'll be taking a look at the new TruRACS species, which are the European Bison, the Plains Bison and the Springbok. So first of all, I wanna thank Expansive Worlds for giving us a chance to play this update a few days before its official release. Now as you can see, we have a European Bison right in front of us, which is a level 3, and here we can get a look at the new horns, which at a first glance look way different. I'm really sure this change will be for the better. So let's drop him. This time we'll be using the 470 to drop all the bisons, including the Plains Bison, and for the Springbok we'll be using the new 22-50. Let's see. And he's down, we hit hard. Alright, let's take a look at this new TruRACS, and the first thing I notice is that the texture of the horn seems higher quality. I mean, it wasn't bad before, but now it looks more up to date, more detailed. And actually for a level 3 the size is not too bad, because compared with the legacy level 3s, these horns are quite big, and even compared with the legacy level 4s. You know, I would say these horns are comparable to the OG level 5s, so it's certainly really surprising that this guy is not even a gold, he's a silver. And now I really wonder how the big ones look, because if a silver looks this way, then I really wonder how a level 5 would look. I mean, the curl on this guy's horns is quite impressive, really good looking. And by the way, the new diamond score is 127.62. You know, they used to be able to reach a trophy rating of 300, so now imagine the really big ones will get to 140s or so. Look at that. That's a really interesting looking bison, level 3. Way smaller than the last one. And there are a few more. This is a herd, including a level 3, which is not too different from the first one we shot. So let's drop the small one to take a look at them. I wanna see how those small horns look, they look really interesting. And that's it. Alright, here we have it. It's actually hard to imagine a bison with smaller horns than this one, but it's actually level 3, so there are still level 2s and 1s that could be even smaller. Also, I guess it's the shape of the horns, but seeing this guy I get some strong Monster TruRACS vibes, you know? He looks really unique. Alright guys, I just spotted what is the biggest bison we've seen so far, a max estimate level 4 with a top estimate of 117, so this guy should give us a good idea of how the monsters look. He's still quite far from diamond though, which means that there are probably a couple bigger horn variations, but this one still looks really big. And that should be a double long. Yeah, the health is going down. Now I'm just gonna harvest a few more of these guys, and then we'll go over to check the Plains Bison and the Springbok. As you can see, this guy has a decent pair of horns, he looks really big, undoubtedly bigger compared to any of the legacy horns, including the diamonds. And the thing is that score-wise, he is not even close to make it. So as I said earlier, I am really intrigued to see how the big ones look. And we'll have a chance to figure that out because I just spotted a giant. Right there. As you can see, he's a level 4 with a top estimate of 132, while the diamond score is 127.6, so he may be a level 4 diamond. Alright. Let's pretend we didn't see that. And as I was saying, there's a good chance this guy is a level 4 diamond because the TruRACS animals are usually more prone to make it below max level. I mean, there are multiple examples of this, of a certain species getting TruRACS and suddenly all the diamonds below max level start appearing. So I really wonder what this guy will score, because I think there's a great possibility he will make it. So let's drop him. Let's see. And he's down. Now let's see if this bull is actually a level 4 bison, but regardless if he makes it or not, we wanted to see a big bison and here we have it. A giant bull nonetheless, and the horns are really thick. They have a lot more mass than the level 3 and the 4 we got earlier, so I'ma claim this guy and let's hope he's actually our first ever TruRACS Diamond European Bison. 126.38. He's not a diamond, but he's insanely close. And honestly, seeing this, I think it's safe to say that level 4 diamond bisons are a thing now and perhaps a relatively common trophy. Now let's go check the Plains Bison, I'm really excited to see how they look. Alright guys, now we are headed out here on Yukon Valley to do a bit of a Plains Bison hunt, and right off the bat, we have a really big herd of Plains Bison, and there's a gigantic level 4 on it. Max estimate. My first impression about the TruRACS on this guys is that the horns look very similar to the horns of the European Bison, which actually makes sense since they are two closely related species. I'm honestly not sure if it is the exact same model, but at this distance it is not hard to tell that the curl on the horns is not as pronounced as the one on the European Bison TruRACS. So I really wanna see him from up close to see if there's any significant difference, and for that we're gonna kill that guy. Okay, we are getting closer. Almost 100 meters away from him. So let's drop him. And that should definitely be a double long. Well, now he's aggressive, so a second shot wouldn't hurt. And that was a hard shot. Alright, the first thing that caught my eye here is that, as you can see, these horns have some markings on them. As you can see, they have some lines near the base and then what seems to be some sort of damage near the tip. So it's certainly a very nice detail, and I don't think I saw these kind of markings on the European Bison horns. Maybe something unique of this particular TruRACS, and now I wanna see what is the new diamond score for this species. Alright, this guy is a 169.2 and the new diamond score is 183.5. So he's not that close, but the horns look very decent. I mean, maybe not as big in relation to the head as the European Bison, but it's still a very nice looking bull. And now I can confirm that these TruRACS are definitely different from the ones of the European Bison. You know, these ones have nowhere near as much curl compared to the horns of the European Bisons. Now I wanna see if those markings are also present in the texture of the horns of this bison. You know, it is possible that there are multiple texture variants for these TruRACS, and perhaps those markings only appear in certain occasions. And certainly that possibility will be a lot more likely if this guy doesn't have that pattern on the horns. Here we have it, and it actually doesn't have the same markings as the other level 4, so now we know that there are multiple texture variants for these TruRACS, which is a very nice detail. In fact, this one also has some markings, but they are very different from the ones we saw on the level 4, so as I said, there are two options. One of them is that there's a specific pattern tied to each size of horns, and the other option is that there's a certain number of texture variants or markings, and they can randomly spawn on whatever bison without considering the size of the horns. We will certainly have to kill a lot more bisons to know that, but for the moment I wanna focus on finding a diamond or at least a big one. And that level 4, with a top estimate of 188, has certainly the potential to be a diamond. We know that the diamond score is 183.5, so a top estimate of 188 is really promising. And I really wouldn't rule out the possibility of this guy being our first diamond TruRACS Plains Bison. Now, being this guy a max estimate level 4 just as the first one we showed, I wanna see if it has the same markings on the horns, although he doesn't have them, which is interesting. We said that the level 3 didn't have them, so maybe those markings are exclusive to the big level 4s and maybe even 5s. I mean, it definitely has a different pattern, so I assume that the markings we saw earlier are just one of many that can spawn on this set of horns. Now let's see a score, hopefully it will be diamond. 178.69. He's a gold. Really close from being a diamond, but it's only a few points shy. Now here we can see horns, which as I said I think are different from the horns the European Bison has. I think it is definitely a different model, which is great for the variety we have in game. Now let's head over to Borjonga Savannah to take a look at the new TruRACS Springbok. I'm honestly really intrigued to see how they look. Alright, there we have the first Springbok of the hunt. He's a level 3. And honestly I thought he was a level 2 or even a level 1 before I spotted him because he's absolutely tiny. I really don't see how they could be smaller than that, so it's quite confusing to see that he's a level 3. I'm sure I'm using the new 22-50. And that will do it. We probably hit a double long because he's going down quite quickly. Let's take a look at this guy, and the first thing I would like to see is the texture on the horns. At a first glance the texture is maybe not as high quality as the texture on the bison horns, although I gotta say that I think it still represents an improvement over the legacy version. My only complaint is definitely the size because this guy is a level 3, a silver, and these horns look more like a bronze. Frankly, it's really hard to imagine a pair of horns smaller than this, and as you can see the new diamond score is 78.55, so I really wonder how the big ones look. And that level 4 with a top estimate of 80 definitely looks like a big one. And it's not the only one because that one is also max estimate. Now as for the horns, I gotta say that the shape looks way more realistic now because I've seen many pictures of Springboks and they look very similar to this. So now the question is, how big is this level 4? I'ma drop him. And that's it, he will go down. You know, there's a chance this guy is a level 4 diamond because his top estimate was above the diamond score, but honestly I would be really surprised if that is the case because his horns are nowhere near to be as big as how big the Springboks can get in real life. So most likely this guy will be just a gold, but the important thing here is that we finally got to see for the first time a decent sized TruRACS Springbok. And he's in fact a gold, 74.82, he's actually quite close to diamond because as I said the new diamond requirement is 78.55. Now another thing I wanted to see apart from the racks is how good the performance of the 22-250 is on the Springboks, and apparently it's not too bad because as you can see it has enough penetration to reach both lungs, and certainly enough to hit the heart with the correct shot placement. Alright guys, I was really wondering if we were gonna be able to find the max level of any of the new TruRACS species, and luckily I just spotted that guy. A level 5 TruRACS Springbok. He has an estimate of 77 to 87, which doesn't make it a guaranteed diamond, but undoubtedly the odds of it being a troll are really low having such a big estimate. So I'm pretty sure we're looking at our first diamond TruRACS Springbok, and I simply cannot wait to see how the horns look. I really wanna do a comparison between the Legacy Diamond and the TruRACS Diamond, and I also wanna test out the penetration of this 22-250 at 150 meters. I mean, we saw it is capable of reaching both lungs below 100, so I wanna see if it is capable of doing the same at this distance. Let's see. Well, he went down incredibly quick, so I imagine we also hit the liver. I mean, the idea was to isolate the lungs, but I won't complain. So here we have it, potentially our first diamond TruRACS Springbok. Let's take a look at the horns. As you can see, they are significantly bigger than the horns of the level 4 we got, and compared to the Legacy Diamonds, even though they are smaller, they are definitely more realistic. In my opinion, way better looking. Now let's see a score. And he's a diamond, 82 on the dot. He's a really big diamond, well above the diamond score, and as we can see here, we did in fact hit the liver and the stomach, but also a double lung, so not too bad. I gotta say I'm quite impressed with the performance of this rifle.